Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the once in a blue moon series I do called Familiar with the Matter, where I talk to people who know things about stuff. And today my guest is Gerry Kissell.
Hey, that's
Comic book.
me.
That's him. Comic book artist, creator, and amongst other things, also TV show host. Because when I play PopCultureMinefield on my TV, it's a TV show.
It's a huge.
So how are you doing today, Gerry?
I'm doing pretty good, buddy.
Glad to
We've
hear
been
it.
friends for a couple of years now, haven't we?
Off and on, yeah. I think it was it Christopher Moonlight that introduced me to you, or was it Script Doctor? I forget now.
Well, I just noticed you in the thing, and I started paying attention to your posts. And
That's what it was. Yeah,
you
I got invited. Yeah, I got invited on a stream randomly. I think it was.
and basically, I could tell you're a writer, and I'm like, okay, he knows
Oh.
what he's talking about. He knows what I'm talking about.
Now,
I'm very critical of writing, and I
Yes, I
like
am
people who
too.
know something about writing.
Well, as a writer, I'll say, give a man a reputation as an early riser, that man can sleep till noon. So I don't know how much of a writer I am these days. But before I get into all that, a few little housekeeping things. First and foremost, everybody, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for the show. And also, at some point, please direct your attention to the top of the chat box. There's a link up there to a donation for the disabled American veterans. And appreciate it. Take a look at that. Please donate if you are able. Yep, DAV. If you're not able to donate, that's fine. But if you can share that on social media, that would be appreciated. That is Gerry's preferred charity of choice, and also, in a way, ties into the subject matter we'll be talking about today. But before we get to that, holy cats, Derek LaRue, thank you as always for your continued support and generosity. Really appreciate it. Hope you're having a good. It's only Thursday. That's right, Thursday, and I hope you enjoy the show. Also,
awesome, dude.
I know. Yeah, thank you, Derek. Derek's a very generous guy. And also, while I'm on the subject here, let's say hello to Noah Asensio. Hey, Noah. Also, Anima Confusa is here.
That is the love of my life, my girlfriend.
The love of his life. Hey, Anima. Rotten Corpse, thanks for joining. And Miranda Stone, Queen of the Discords. Good afternoon to you, too. And for anybody else that pops in, anybody that's lurking, anybody in the future, good afternoon. All right, so it's a little known fact, or not, that I'm a, whoa, holy cats. Okay, I can't even, these are the best interruptions ever. Stoka, Brett, thank you.
I hope these guys are supportive of my book.
Oh my gosh. Well, I tell you what, by the way, first off, Brett, thank you. Thank you so much. Am here. Hi, Scribe. Hi, Gerry. Hello, Brett. That is ridiculously generous of you, Brett. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And I do like being called Gerry, by the way.
Okay, I'll try to keep that in mind, Gerry. As with all such generosity that you guys show me, I'm going to do my best to pay it forward, and I'll be making a donation to the disabled American veterans after the show on your behalf as well. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Brett. So, as I got derailed there, little known fact, I am a comic book nerd of the old, well, now old, I suppose, the 90s. Before I get into your project,
that sounds young to me.
I know. So I have no artistic ability, and I'm always in awe of people. And by no artistic ability, I mean, something beyond just like putting things together in Photoshop. But I've been around artists most of my life in one way, shape, or form. When did your sort of artistic spark, as far as drawing and sketching and things, first manifest when you were growing up?
I don't remember when I wasn't drawing, and I have memories all the way back to 3. I was always scribbling. My sister, actually everybody in my family is artistic on my mother's side and my father's side. My dad was an engineer and came up doing drafting and engineering, designing stuff for corporations. He's multiple patents in his name. I was sort of doomed. Unlike my siblings, they're half siblings, even though I don't treat them that way. I am my dad's only child. And so with my mom being an artist too, she was a painter. I was just sort of doomed to be an artist. And I used to joke about it. I said, every single member of my family was artistic. I was the only one lazy enough to try to make a career out of it.
Um, so what, like, was there anybody in particular in your family that inspired you? Was there an artist that inspired you as you developed your skills in your youth?
I really I do I none of them were inspiring to me,
Mm.
but I paid attention to what my sister Luann did. She's the one who taught me how to draw a human profile, how
Okay.
to draw hands. She had trouble drawing hands herself, but she showed me how to draw hands. She would draw a lot of times when she would draw women, they would have their hands behind their back because she didn't wanna have to draw the hands.
Yeah.
And, but I would excel at it. My mother once said that I was born with a pencil in my hand, and I always would quip back, "That must have hurt, mom. I'm sorry."
But wait. I have something for that. Hold on. And of course, comic timing is. Uh, so, did you have any formal training for art at all, or did you go in any formal training
I
as
went to
school
art
came on?
school, but by
Okay.
the time I went to art school, I'd
Hmm.
already been a professional,
Okay.
and, I went to Eastern Illinois University, and, for a very brief period, and Ernie, who I was friends with, I drank with him all the time. And, his nickname was Dirty Ernie, the professor, the head of the art department at Eastern University.
That sounds
And,
like a garbage pail
he was
kid
just a
story.
hippie. He was just a
Yeah.
hippie, man. And we got along really well. And, uh, and he just told me one day, he says, "You know everything we could ever teach you. You've
Ah.
already done
Okay.
it professionally.
Mhm.
The only thing we offer you is art history." And I'm like, "That's not gonna get me a job."
What had you
Uh,
done professionally before art school?
well, in the '80s, I was already working for magazines, and I'd already done a few comic pinups. For,
Hmm.
Blue Comet Comics, which went under, they went under. It's like I've tried to look them up, can't find them anywhere, so I was like, "Oh," it broke my heart because I was hoping I could find copies of those old pinups I did for 'em. And, but I didn't see a future in it because I wanted to work for Marvel and or specifically, and, basically, I was given a form letter by Marvel, but Denny O'Neil actually wrote me a personal letter,
Hmm.
saying that if I'm not willing to move to New York, they can't hire me. And I'm like, I got a kid. I've had a kid since I was 18. You know, I
Hmm.
I I can't just leave and move to New York. I want to be around my kid. And I kind of think it was a chicken shit move on my part. I could
Hmm.
have, and it was just up the highway off I-95, and I could just take an I-95 down on the weekends to spend time with my kid. But I don't know. I think I was afraid
Yeah.
of going up there. I could have stayed with my cousin. There were so many things, and I just found every excuse not to do it. But he penned me this really wonderful letter, and
Mm.
I actually talked to him years later and told him about it. And he goes, "Well," he looked at my artwork again, and he's like, "You're a very good artist." I'm like, "Thank you." And but I just didn't see a future in comic book for me. And
Really?
I worked for a magazine, Selling Power Magazine, number 1 sales and marketing magazine in the world, and I don't know if it still is, but it's still published, and, Laura and Gerhard Geschwapner, and they loved my work, and I did a lot of illustration for them for the magazine and for anytime they published a book, and I also did Dr. Wayne Dyer's official comic strip in the magazine, and he didn't write the scripts. I would co-write them with, Laura. And he just thought, "Wow," it was said once that I just have a natural knack for positive thinking. Very proactive person
Mhm.
when it comes to doing things. And so I really did like doing that, and it felt good. Um, the deadlines were easy for me to work with, and I liked doing that kind of artwork. Sometimes it'd be a painting, sometimes it'd just be a spot illustration, and I loved doing that. I always wanted to work for a newspaper, and I did eventually. I worked for the Federal Way News, and, I was their political cartoonist for, like, 2 years.
Well, you've been all over the place. Was there since we're talking about comic books, was there a particular uh, character or series or anything that was your favorite growing up?
Comic-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing I remember reading was, the Fantastic Four,
Mm.
and I was really in love with the Fantastic Four. My grandfather, my paternal grandfather on my dad's side, you know, he loved comic books, and so he had comic books around the house, and so I'd read the comic books. And the first comic book I ever bought with my own money, which really was money given to me by my mom and dad, I
Mhm.
went into a convenience store, or what used to be like a convenience store, a little market on the highway when we were moving from, Illinois to Florida one year, and, 72, and I went down there and I bought, uh, the Batman Swamp Thing crossover,
Ooh.
Bernie Wrightson's artwork on the cover, and I had a choice between that or buying a news magazine that was talking about Bruce Lee, and I went, "No, I'm gonna buy the comic book," and so I was 8 years old, and I bought not quite 8, I was not quite 8, I was just before I turned 8,
Mhm.
and, bought that comic book, man, and I was enamored with Bernie Wrightson's artwork.
Yeah.
And, and I would meet him later. People say you shouldn't meet your heroes. I've met a lot of the guys that I looked up to as artists, and they really were very kind to me,
Mm.
and they would tell me, "Keep it up," because I wasn't a comic book artist. I never was. I was an illustrator.
Mhm.
I don't know how to do comic book art. I know how to draw what I see.
Yeah, when I was collecting comic books for so many years, it became like second nature to me to recognize people's art because it was so distinct. I could say, there's Eric Larson, there's Jim Lee, there's some Mark Teixeira, there's a whole bunch of other like I just after reading so many comic books in Marvel and otherwise, I'd see someone's lines and I'd know almost instantly either that's them or somebody trying to be them. And I remember, I remember a few years ago, I was looking at some comic book off a shelf or something, and I was looking through them, thinking, whoever this is, they're really trying to be Mark Teixeira. I don't know who they are, but they're really trying to be Mark Teixeira. And then I look at the credits, and it's like, oh, that is Mark Teixeira. His art had
Oh,
changed just enough that it was similar but not the same. And I thought, oh, that's weird. But was there any as you started doing more illustrations and things, was there a particular, I mean, you said John Byrne's a good one. Uh, did any other particular artists inspire you or give you, not necessarily directly like in contact, but just through their style that you emulated
yeah.
or tried to aspire to?
Oh, yeah. Now look, I was a big Frank Frazetta fan.
Yeah,
And I loved his pen and ink work, but it was his buddy, Al Williamson, who impacted me the most.
sure. Yeah.
And, I think the greatest compliment I have ever received was from Tom Waltz at IDW, when he said that, he was reviewing some of the work I had done, and he said that I was the Al Williamson of this generation, which is not true. But I like, "Thank you.
Yeah, still.
Thank you. That'll look good on letterheads." Um So, but, Al Williamson was a huge influence on me. Drew Struzan, who
Yes.
is Drew and his wife, Dylan are close friends of mine, and I love him. And he had a huge impact on me when I was younger. I hated Alice Cooper as a kid because he gave me I watched his, Welcome to My Nightmare special on
Hmm.
TV, scared the shit out of me. And so I wanted nothing to do with Alice Cooper, but he put out these 2 albums that had Drew's artwork on it. I didn't even know who he was at the time. I'm like, "Who is this?" I was like, Jack Nicholson as a Joker, "Stop the press,"
Hmm.
and I went out and I bought both albums with my newspaper money, and I put the album art up on my wall like
Right.
posters. I just freaking love that artwork by Drew Struzan, and that's who I probably wanted to draw most like, was Drew Struzan. And Drew, and sometime I'll dig the letter out for you. I have an email from him where he said that he considered me one of the few artists that is a true heir to his style,
Oh, wow. Jeez.
because I can draw and paint just like him. Um, I'll even show you, the Kissell Studios,
Uh-oh.
and go to the main page. I have to go there. There we are. And here, I'll give it to you in the private chat, the link.
Okay.
This is my online portfolio. And let
Got
me
it.
present, share screen, and boom, baby. There we go.
Okay. One second here. Let me get this. pulled up.
I'll refresh it so you can see this awesome animation.
Got to show off.
It's dumb.
Whee! Yeah, I want to hear like the Batman sound.
Yeah, actually, I have an animation with the PCM logo doing that with the
Nice.
spinning, just like the show. But you know, done a lot of artwork. This is my GI Joe cover right there.
Nice.
I did that for IDW before they lost the license. This is the movie poster I painted for Escape from Deathblock 13. This is the poster art I did for Bruce Campbell's Running Time.
Nice.
This was Private Commish.
That's great.
My favorite captain.
Yep.
This is a book that I wrote, but I did do some of the art with Richard Bonk because we're good friends and we like working together. We're very close friends. This is the original Running Time art I did back in '97.
I got to get that chin in there. Can't avoid the chin.
Yeah, and Bruce Campbell even said it. If you can read it here, you know, Gary's art is groovy, baby. And I did a lot of movie posters and artwork for Josh Becker. Here's one poster. Photorealistic. This is one where he wanted me to do something that was a little more Sal Bass style.
Yeah.
Some more stuff I did. These are paintings. These aren't photos.
Nice.
That's my mate Duncan Skinner. He's an actor, English actor that lives in Greece. And he does these little films, and I did that poster for him. And it's actually my homage to a Sam Peckinpah film because it's emulating the same poster art style. This was to Kecksburg. I was told by a fan that just let you know, Gary, your artwork was better than the movie. I went, thank you. This is my buddy Nathan Shelton. He did a web series and then collected it into a single movie. It was a horror, very H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, I was about to say. It looks like 20s HPL kind of thing. Yeah.
And you can tell right here, this is Drew Struzan style.
Yeah.
And in fact, this was Drew Struzan's Christmas gift 5 years ago.
Oh,
I
nice.
painted that, and I did that in the Drew Struzan style just for him.
Nice. Cool.
This one is for the book or the movie Exorcist Academy. I got hired as the second artist, and then they fired the other artist and made me the main artist because they liked my artwork better.
Nice.
And that's Langston Fishburne, Lawrence Fishburne's son, and the guy from that motorcycle show in the '80s. I forget the name of it, where he traveled around solving people's problems.
Oh, Lorenzo Lamas?
Yes, Lorenzo Lamas. And they made a short film, and I did the artwork for it. And I worked in a lot of film because I'm very good at likenesses. I love this cover. I did this for Brian Boland's book about the Coast Guard. I'm doing a new cover right now for him. It'll be the 4th book for Brian Boland. I've done the cover work. This is the Dale Dye. If you know who Dale Dye is.
Yes.
This is for his book Outrage. And I painted that.
All right.
This is the Liberator cover I did because I did the artwork for the movie, and then they commissioned me to do the artwork for one issue. That's all I agreed to. I wouldn't do more than one issue because I don't like the monthly deadlines. This is the first movie poster I ever did professionally for Salt City Video out of St. Louis, and that's actually me posing for the photo. And then this was done on illustration board with acrylic paint.
Okay.
And there is a photo of me, Jason Pankoke from I forget the name of his magazine now. God, I'm drawing a blank. He's got all the original photos from it. And some of the other artwork I've done. God, I've done so much artwork over the years.
Well,
I have like about a quarter of the work I've done on this website. It's just so time consuming. I love these little commissions like that one. Right? Someone asked me to do Spock, and I went, there you go. And I did it
Real
What?
quick before it passes by here. Thank you, Alan Thyler, so much
Oh, wow.
for the trophy offering samurai dogcat fox. I hope you'll forgive me if I don't put in a dogcat fox stinger into the interview, but thank you so much, Alan. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a good day and hope you enjoyed the show. And thank you so much for your generosity. It's very nice of you. So yes, obviously very prolific artist.
Some of my
Um,
Star Trek art.
so I don't know how much of a sensitive subject it is to ask about, but I wanted to ask about were you doing art during the time of your service?
Oh, yeah. I tried to hide. Here, I'm gonna shut that down for now, stop sharing.
Okay.
Um, I tried to, when I quit the art job I was at and left
Mhm.
for the army, and I ghosted everyone. Only one person knew I was going in the army,
Mhm.
and nobody else knew. I just sort of disappeared on everybody. Um, and I wanted to hide the fact that I was an artist, and I didn't want them to know.
Why?
And I don't know, I just wanted to be somebody new.
Okay.
I wanted to, you know, have the power to remake myself.
Mm.
I wanted to be completely taken by the military. I
Yeah.
wanted to be a soldier and just not think about anything else, just soldiering. And, there's this kid, um, his name was Chandler. That was his last name. I don't know what his first name was. We all had name tags, and we often
Sure.
didn't know each other's first names. And, he had approached me one day in the barracks and said, "Batman," like that.
Mhm.
And I gave him the dirtiest look because I thought he knew my secret, you know, "What?"
Oh.
And I said, "Why the fuck do you say that?" He's like, "'Cause you look like Batman, like Batman." He went like that, and I went, "Are you trying to say that my mouth looks like Michael Keaton's?" He said, "Yeah, you look like Batman." I went, "Why are you looking at my mouth?" And he goes, "I don't mean anything by it. I was just saying you look like Batman."
Can I give you a compliment?
So I was, like, just really uptight about it.
Mhm.
And, I trained with that guy for months,
Yeah.
months. We did basic together, and he was with me in AIT. And I always felt bad that I did that to him, but I was so nervous. And eventually what happened was I did a caricature of my drill instructor, Drill Sergeant
Okay.
Samuels, and, I
The
made fun
secret
of him
came
in
out.
the caricature, and
Yeah.
some guys wanted to see it, and I went, "Yeah, go ahead and look at it, but keep it near your pillow so you can cover it up if sergeants come in." They're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I go to the store to, the mini PX to go get a haircut, and I come back, and, I walk in the door, and he went, "Yo, man, drill sergeant saw your artwork, man." And I went, "Oh, whatever, fuck off." And I went into because I was a squad leader, so I had a private room with one other person.
Yeah.
He was my battle buddy, as we call him. And then I hear when a drill sergeant wants to have everybody hear him, he'll yell out, "Echo." And he'll go, "Echo," and then whatever he says, you have to repeat. So you yell,
Right.
"Echo," and he goes, "Private, private," and he said it just like, "Private Kissell, report." And I heard everybody yell, "Private Kissell, report." And my ass tightened so much, I'm like, "Fuck, he really saw the artwork." So I go to his office, knock on the door. He says, "Enter," and I walked in, open the door, you shut the door behind you, and you're standing at attention. You say, "Drill Sergeant, Private Kissell reporting." And he says, "At ease, at ease." And then I went at ease, and he went, "No, I mean, just relax." Okay, okay. So I'm trying to be chill, and I don't know how to be chill in front of a drill sergeant.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I'm like just sort of standing at ease a little more casual. And he says, "Did you draw this?" And I saw the artwork, and my heart just went, "Ooh,"
You.
and my chest filled with blood.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Oh my god." And I mean, I really made fun of him in that fucking
Yeah,
drawing.
yeah,
And he's like, "You drew this?" And I went, "Drill sergeant, yes, drill sergeant." He says, "Can you do portraits of kids?" And man, drill sergeants are always trying to fuck with you. So I'm like, what is the angle that he's coming at here?
Right, yeah. What am I stepping into?
So I'm like, drill sergeant, yes, drill sergeant. He goes, chill out, chill out. We're just talking, two guys talking. Stop. And I went, oh, okay. He says, seriously, if you're this good, I would love to see you draw my boys. I'd like
Mm.
you to do a portrait for me. Now, normally I would want to be paid, but I was like, if
Well,
you will
yeah,
not
but
kill me, I will do this artwork.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. For preserving my life, drill sergeant, I will do this for you.
And he was a great drill instructor, he really was. But I got drill sergeant to the brain because I never
Mhm.
got messed with. They would try
Mm.
to mess with me, and then it would fall back on them, it would blow back on them, and they're like, and I remember like one time with the drill instructor, he was trying to fuck with me, and he was a reserve drill instructor, black guy, and he walked up to me while we're waiting outside the armory,
Mhm.
and waiting in our little group until the line shrank, and then the next group would go, and next group would go, and so we're waiting for our turn, and this drill sergeant walks up to me, and he's like, "I hear you married and got a kid." I'm like, yes," and he's like, "Got any pictures?" I went, "Yeah." "Can I see them?" "Yeah." So and all my guys are circling around me because I'm a squad leader, and I got my squad
Mhm.
circling me, and they're all like, "What the hell is going on here?" Because I can
Right.
see it in their eyes. They're like, "What the fuck is going on? He's talking to him like a dude." So I pulled out my wallet, it's an army, you rip it up with Velcro,
Yep.
and I pull out a picture of actually my girlfriend and my son, Benjamin. He goes, "That's a good looking woman." I went, "Thank you." And, "That's your boy?" Like, "Yeah, my son Benjamin." "How old is he?" I said, "He's 6." "Oh, good looking kid. You wanna see my girlfriend?" I went, "What the fuck is
Sure.
going
Yeah.
on here?" And I'm like, there's an angle to this that I'm not seeing, and I'm trying to figure it out because my wheels are always going when people are
Mhm.
talking to me to figure out their angle. And so I'm like, "Sure, drill sergeant, yeah." So he pulls out a wallet, rips it open because Velcro, all military wallets have the Velcro, and, he pulls out the picture of the single most butt fucking ugly woman I've ever seen in my life. She looked like she not only ate a limb from
Mhm.
the fucking ugly tree,
Yeah.
fell out of it, picked that limb up, shit it out, ate it again, and I'm like, "You can't get more fugly than this girl." She had a face like this wide, very wide nares, like nose went out to here, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "That is one unattractive human being." And
Mhm.
so she's showing that photo to me, and I'm like, there's
Uh,
gotta be a catch here somewhere. So
right.
I'm not gonna get screwed by this guy. He wants me to screw up. So
Mhm.
I can't lie. I have a problem with lying.
Mhm.
And, because you can see it on my face when I'm lying. So I respond with, "I'm gonna compliment the photo." And I said, "That's a really good photo."
Mhm.
I didn't have to say she's fucking
There
ugly.
you go. Yeah.
And I didn't lie. You can't see it on my face. I'm telling
Right.
the truth.
Mhm.
It's a very good photo of a very fucking ugly human being. And he goes, "That's my sister." Then my brain gets working. I'm like, "Wait a minute. You just asked me if I wanted to see a photo of your girlfriend. Then you show me a photo of a fucking ugly woman telling me it's your sister. And I can look at that and tell you're no relation."
Mhm.
But I don't say those things. What I say instead is, "So that's how it is in your family."
Yeah, that's what to say.
I can't help but to be funny.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just looked at him for a second. He looked at me and his eyes got really huge to where you can see the tops and the
Mhm.
sclera on the tops and bottoms. He was really big, and he did this with his lips. And I'm like, I put my hands in the shape of a diamond. I said, "I imagine you just want me to drop and beat my face now, right?" And he
Yeah.
goes, "No, no, no, we're cool. We're cool. We're cool." And he turned around and he put his wallet back in his pocket and slowly walked away. And I
Okay.
could see the look on his face as he kept looking around, as he's walking, looking left, looking right. He's trying to figure out where he fucked up with me. 'Cause I think he was planning to do something to mess with me, and
Yeah.
it backfired on him. And
Uh,
my drill sergeant used to tell other drill sergeants, "Don't you fuck with my top dog,"
well, yeah.
because I was
I
his
mean,
top dog. I was his guy.
mm,
He just liked me for some reason because I would well, 1, I did the artwork for him, but we'd hang out in the barracks, like, after hours.
mhm.
I'd go hang out with my drill instructor. He'd offer me drinks, I wouldn't drink. I didn't wanna drink, I was trying to change my life,
Sure.
trying to become something else.
But your
But
art just
dr
kept following you around.
Yeah, and so he ended up getting me to do murals,
Mhm.
and I did some murals in the barracks. There's even a photo of one. Let me see if I can find it.
Real
Um,
quick while you're doing that, Keeverdam, thank you so much. Hi, Scribe. Hi, Keeverdam. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're having a good afternoon. Thanks for
let me
showing up.
get into my albums here. Army days, here we go, Army. Here, I'll just, share my screen again for you.
Sure.
Boo, boo, boo. There we go.
There we go.
That's me doing some quality reading in the barracks.
Yeah, don't bring up anything that's gonna get me kicked off of YouTube.
Um, that is, my buddies. You can tell I'm a giant. That's me on the left.
Mhm.
That is my expert badge for grenade. Um, there's a story behind that too. This was my best friend in the Army, Julio,
Mhm.
and, that's me all the way at the top. All the tall guys were on the back row, and they went short to the shortest up in the front.
Mhm.
This is TJ. He doesn't even look like he's in the military. He doesn't know how to put his uniform on. He just looks terrible, and he'd wake me up in the middle of the night because he knew I was already an EMT, and he said, Kissell, man, I think I had a stroke. I think I had a stroke. I can't feel my arm. You slept on it wrong, you idiot. Leave me alone. Go back to bed." And we trained together for he also caused a funny, fucked up situation in AIT that I w once I realized what had happened, um, I just looked at him, I said, "Don't you ever say a word about this. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because we're both in trouble if the drill
Mm.
instructor finds out what you did." And, I loved all these guys, man. As Drill Sergeant Parker, God, great instructors, man. This guy, I used to make fun of him, like, "Were you born angry?" He always looks angry. That's his, like, just calm face. That's his bitch face,
Mm.
resting bitch face. A lot of great dudes in this company, man.
So, did your experience during the military change the way you approach your art or your style at all? Did anything from that experience alter your perspective on the craft, so to speak?
Well, it changed a lot of things about me, but not my art. My art was growing.
Mm.
This is one of the murals I did in the barracks right here. That's me
Mhm.
with 2 of the guys that helped me. They would get my supplies for me and get me stuff to drink while I was working. But, my best friends in the Army, Fuller. He was in the other photo I showed you. That
Mhm.
was my late ex-wife. She died of cancer,
Mm.
and that was us under the, billets in the Army. Good old days, good old days.
Good old days.
The Army, what it did is it gave me direction. It gave me
Mhm.
focus. It also gave me something that I didn't have before, self-confidence. I became a lot more self-confident, and if it weren't for the Army, I don't think I would have ever done many of the things I did.
Mhm.
So, that's what it did.
All right. Well, so let's move into the feature of the show, and that is your project, Vindicated Incorporated. By the way, everybody, links to the campaign and all of Gary's particulars are in the description. Get to those as well. So take a look at the project when you have the opportunity. Now, when I first uh, saw your posting about the project, I'm a big Punisher fan. Been a big Punisher fan since I've been a kid, and
Me
so
too.
immediately spoke to me just on a concept level because, well, of things that they've been doing to the Punisher over the last several years. But that's a whole other conversation. Um, so to say that this project is a labor of love, I think would be an understatement, given the fact that it has,
It is an absolute passion project.
yeah.
Um, I took an oath with myself in '06 that because I didn't get to go back because I tried to go back, when the Gulf War broke out,
Mhm.
second Gulf War, but they told me that I would have to sign away my rights to my daughter, basically. They said, "You would
Mm.
have to leave someone else as the custodian." I'm like, "I have nobody. It's just me."
Yeah.
And I'm sure as hell not gonna put my ex's family in charge of her because that's why I went and did the custody battle in the first place because they
Mhm.
were messed up, and they were just doing goofy shit with my daughter, and I was like, I had to get her away from them. So, I'm like, I didn't get to go back. So in
Mhm.
'06, I took an oath with myself that for the stuff I didn't get to do in the military, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life focusing on military issues and telling stories and helping promote
Mhm.
soldiers. And, I immediately went to work for Dale Dye, and I became his artist in '06,
And for
and
anybody
I've
who
been
doesn't
work
know, yeah, who's Dale Dye for anybody in the audience who doesn't know,
here, I'll
briefly?
just rather than trying to explain it to you,
Oh,
I'll tell you who he is. I'll go to
okay.
IMDb.
Sure.
Uh, you can do it. I can actually give you the link if you want to. This is Dale Dye, on IMDb. He is the military advisor behind Platoon, Starship Troopers,
Mhm.
Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan, The Pacific, and the latest show, Masters of the Air. And he's my boss. He's been my boss since '06, and I work for him almost exclusively. I occasionally take freelance work, like I'm getting ready to do a comic book with Professor John Brandenburg that deals with the UFOs and because he's an astrophysicist
Mhm.
and he's written some great books, and he wants me to do a graphic novel of one of his books.
Yeah,
That's
you
Dale
guys
Dye
yeah, you guys might recognize him. He's been in many, many movies.
as an actor as well as the advisor for military shows.
Yep. There you go. That's Dale Dye. And you
You
did,
know,
Operation Geronimo, I think it was one of his projects.
Code Word Geronimo. Code Word
Pardon me,
Geronimo.
pardon me, Code Word, pardon me.
It's a the reason why because someone would like try to say that it was say it wrong, and I'll correct them. I said no, it's very specific. The title. It's Code Word
Mhm.
colon Geronimo, and Geronimo means he's dead.
Right.
And that because it was Operation Neptune, and I created the book. Went to IDW, sold them on the idea that Dale Dye would write it, and Dale always works with his wife, Julia, who's they're family to me. They
Mm,
are. I'm very close to them, and, I mean, a week doesn't go by that I'm not on the phone talking with them.
mhm.
They're just very tight-knit with me, and, we worked together on the idea for the story. They went and did some research. I did my research with them because I had to learn what things general ideas of what things looked like in operate. I got some of it wrong, as did Dale. Dale got a couple of things wrong. I got a couple of things wrong, and but they were very pleased working with me on that project. I also broke a record according to IDW. I drew 72 pages in 3 weeks,
Mm.
which was apparently a record. And but they
And
never did anything with it.
now, for anybody who doesn't know, Code Word Geronimo is a comic book sort of
Graphic
recreation
novel.
of the event. Yeah, graphic novel recreation of the raid on Osama bin Laden.
Yep.
So, and that's out there,
Operation
IDW,
Neptune.
Operation Neptune. So the what was the I know I believe if I remember my very thorough research here, Vindicated Incorporated was its genesis was around 2010 or 2012. There's about
2012. And
2012. Okay.
I was driving to pay my rent, and I had to drive 2 blocks. I drove to the landlord's office, walked in, dropped my check off, got back out to the car, and by the time I got home, the entire story was in my head, and it
Hmm.
came to me originally as just like 4-panel cartoon showing 2 disabled veterans playing basketball in wheelchairs, and one with a missing arm, and he makes a one-armed shot
Hmm.
and swooshes it, turns to his teammate and says, Phantom Limb High Five. And because I've been around veterans my whole life, disabled
Sure.
veterans, and they've got you've never met a darker humor.
Oh, I mean,
Like,
it's inherently necessary to otherwise how do you cope with just life in general, whether it's
yeah, it's
especially in
got a
situations
very
like
good
that.
humor. Death
Yeah.
is just something else to laugh about. Disability is another thing to laugh about, you know? And so I was thinking how they think, and
Mhm.
like, I wrote that little cartoon, and that cartoon evolved very quickly, one drive, into Vindicated Inc. I had the entire story, I had the guy's
Wow.
name, and I'm sitting there, and I called Jeff Searcy, who used to be one of the heads of Wounded Warrior Project that's a close friend of mine,
Mhm.
and I called him. He was the first person I called, and I'm like, "What do you think of this story?" I told him the whole story, and he was just like, "Wow." Wow, dude, you've got to turn that into a movie or something. I
Mhm.
went, "Well, I don't know how to do the film, but I can definitely do a graphic novel, but I'll try to do a film,
Mhm.
see what I can get pulled together." And he says, "What's the name of it?" And it just came out of my mouth. I said, "Vindicated Incorporated." I came up with that on the spot when he asked me,
Mhm.
and he was like, "I love that title." I went, "Yeah, I know." And I wasn't even sure what it meant. And then I figured it out and went, "Oh, that's what that meant," because my subconscious works on a whole different level,
Mhm.
from like, it works faster than my conscious mind. It just it will go, and then I will, like, be thinking, like, "What the fuck did I just do?" And
Yeah.
it'll freak me out sometimes because
Yeah,
it's almost like a
occasionally
whole other person.
occasionally, like, I'll encounter, for a brief moment, a different version of myself that has just gems dropping all over the place in little ideas or thing. I'll get, like, a brief moment of inspiration. It sounds like I'm a genius, and then I come back to myself and be like, "Well, I hope I can do that again someday."
Right. But
Um,
how do I do that? What's worse is, like, when I do something really clever or say something really clever, I'll go, "Oh my god, I hope I don't," and then I forget what the fuck I said. I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh, man, that was so." But I will tell you something, a proud thing of mine. I occasionally will go on Facebook and I will write things that Gary has said to other people in real life,
Yeah. Just as
and
proof.
people go,
It's a
like,
record. It's a record.
"How do
I
you
swear.
how do you get away with those things?" And that was the thing I forgot to tell you, because after the drill sergeant walked away with the
Mhm.
photo,
Yeah.
I turned and looked, and my squads were sitting there like this,
Yeah, they're waiting for something to come down on you,
and
yeah.
"Close your mouths, we're not codfish." I love that I love
Oh,
that line. "We're not codfish." And, but I would mess with people that were, like, higher ranking than me,
mhm.
and I would do things, and they didn't know how to deal with me, and I had other NCOs, like, actually tell me later, they said, "Man, you would just like, you're so smart." It's we didn't know how to deal with you sometimes because and that's why we left you alone a lot because we knew you were probably a lot smarter than us.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Well, thank you, but no, you can fuck with me all you want. Just don't expect me to fall for it."
So,
And,
oh, go ahead.
so, basically, what Cam just said there is so important. Um, in the book, the opening of the book are the words it says, "This book is my love letter to every warrior who left a piece of themselves on the battlefield or brought a piece of the battlefield back home with them."
Gotcha.
And, I never served in combat,
Mhm.
I got kind of poked fun at once for that, and I looked at the guy and I poked him in the chest, and I said, "I go where the DOD sent me. The
Yeah,
Department of the Army gave me orders.
exactly.
I volunteered for everything." My dad told me never volunteer, and I'm like, "No, I volunteered for everything."
Mhm.
Like, if when they threatened us with war, I'll go. I'll send me. I wanna go. I'm older than these guys. I went in at 26. These guys were 18. One of them was 17. One of my best friends in the Army was 17. He turned 18 while we're in AIT. But, you were gonna ask a question.
Oh, I was just gonna ask because, like I say, in the research that I did, I didn't know this until just prior to the interviews that the project had started so long ago, and then you had to sort of
I put it
pause
on the
because
back
of
burner because
yeah, because of family tragedies.
Well, there's
And
stuff going on and, so much happening, and, it is I did not wanna be a freelance artist. I was working for an ad agency for years, and
mhm,
then, during the, Obama years, I lost my career, and the economy didn't take off again, so my career was
yeah,
over,
yeah,
and, I was trying to have to figure out how to face it, and then Tom Waltz stepped in and gave me a new direction to go, working in
mhm,
comics, and so I decided my only hope is to be a freelance artist,
right,
and it was a struggle. It was
sure,
a struggle, and yes, I lost my brother, whom I was closest to, my brother Michael, and my mom in a period of just a few months. They both died.
yeah,
One from leukemia, my mom, and my brother from cancer. The cancer didn't kill him, but because of the cancer, he died. Because
right,
the cancer caused him to have problems, and he ended up, having internal bleeding, hemorrhaged, and bled out, and his organs started dying one by one.
yeah,
And, so I just was devastated by that, and then, 2 people who were very close to me that I was working with, um, stole close to about $15,000 from me and
oh,
broke me
geez,
financially,
yeah,
and because of where the money came from, it cost me my job,
oh, boy,
and it was a struggle from there, and I just, uh, I kept, like, looking up going, "You can stop anytime. You can
right,
stop
yeah,
anytime,"
exactly, when it
you
rains, it
know?
pours, give me an umbrella or
I'm
something,
trying to take care of my kid, and you keep hitting
yeah,
me with these things. And I try to always stay positive, and it was really getting hard. And what I didn't understand is that s- my PTSD, I had developed PTSD
mhm,
from the kidnapping when my daughter got kidnapped. And my anxiety mixed with depression kicked in. And I went from being an athletic, like soldier looking guy to a
mhm,
big fat body. I went
mhm,
up to 650 pounds. And
Jesus,
I've lost 300 of it, and I'm still working on losing weight,
mhm,
and, it's a battle because I'm
yes,
always battling with my emotions, and I don't let my emotions be anybody else's problems. It's one of the big differences with me and some people is I don't m make my problems anybody else's, they're mine to deal with. I
sure,
internalize everything, which is why I told you I always look calm and collected because everything's going on in my head. You
mhm,
can't see it, you won't see it on my face. I have a perfect poker face, except when I get angry. And when I get angry, basically, I have resting bitch face. And when I go to resting bitch face, it you can pretty much assume I'm not happy because I just go,
mhm, yeah, I get it.
my da my daughter
Everybody thinks their video froze just there for a second.
yeah.
Ah.
I do that to people in video chats. I go, "Hey, what's"
Yeah, exactly.
and they go,
Buffering,
"Gary?
buffering, buffering.
Gary? Gary?" I'm like, "Yeah, what?"
Yeah,
They go, "Oh, you're an asshole."
yeah.
It's fun to do that because I can sit and not blink for long periods of time. I'm, like, weird. I used to piss cats off. Having staring contests. And
That's a interesting anecdote. Of
you
all
know?
things to make angry, just specifically cats.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
always had cats around. I like dogs, I've always been a dog person, but, when I got my first cat, I was like, "I fucking like this cat, he's so fucking cool." And they were and it was always the women in my life that got the cats, but the
Mhm.
cat would go like, "Fuck you, bitch, I'm hanging out with him." And that they would bond with me, and that was it. I
Yeah,
was bonded with them.
that's been the case in my family too. My father, the cat always bonds with my father much easier than with my mother. Always
It's
ends up
because 'cause I'm
on
so
his lap.
zen.
That must be it, yeah. My dad too.
I'm very
Um,
calm, and cats like
so
that.
with the pause on the project for so long, and we'll get into the specifics of it in a minute, but I was wondering, it's like, so, uh, over 10 years passed between inception
And it goes
and
by so
restarting.
fast,
Oh, you're not kidding me. I
you
mean,
know?
when you start talking about, like, I don't know, I was watching a documentary the other day talking about something that happened in 2006, and I thought to myself, that really was that long ago now, wasn't it? Holy cats. Um, but I was wondering, like, so in the time since, you first came up with the story and the ideas and everything and the pause and all that. Have the intervening years caused you to go back and uh, revise anything about the story or add
Yeah, I
anything
would
to it
go
that
in.
wasn't
I
there
was
before?
editing all the time, all the
Okay.
time. I never stopped editing.
All right.
Also coming up with new ideas of things that I should probably put in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would always make notes. And if you went on my computer, you would probably see a folder filled with about 33 separate notes
Mm-hmm.
of things I needed to remember to put in later when I do a rewrite. Because I always in the back of my mind was like, I'm going to try. And I did try to come back to it in 2019, but
Mm-hmm.
just, in order to keep bills, I got to pay my bills. I was
Right.
trying to constantly get new work. And man, it would always like eat up my time. And finally, I was working with Script Doctor. You know who Script Doctor is.
Oh yes, I've had
And
one before.
we got the screenwriters strike,
Yes.
and it killed my work. I wasn't getting anything. I was getting 0 money coming in for months. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know what I was gonna do, and I started to, get depressed, and then I stopped, and I had a little talk with myself, and I said, "This is it. You've
Mm-hmm.
been wondering when you'd find time to do this. Do it now." And so back in, October, November, I'm like, "I'm gonna do this," and so I started
Mm-hmm.
planning. And so, I've gotten enough to pay for me to finish doing the book. After they take out their 3%,
Right.
I I have enough to cover me to work on this for a bit. And, that's where we're at right now. We still don't have the money to pay Richard Bonk or to pay for the printing, and I'm gonna have to do fundraisers for, everything. So, I'm actually getting ready to if I can't get people back on this one here, this fundraiser, I'm going to start
Mm-hmm.
one on Indiegogo.
Okay.
I wanted to avoid it because I don't like Indiegogo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Kickstarter. I don't like them. They're very political uh, businesses, and they don't like people like me.
Well,
Pro
just as a note.
soldier,
Okay.
conservative, what have you.
Right. You're the wrong kind of fundraiser. Well, this is a note to people. Full disclosure: I am a contributor to Gary's project, and have been for a while now. And a link to that is in the description. So let's get down to the proverbial nitty gritty here. So this is your love letter to disabled veterans. Um,
To warriors,
Pardon me.
like I
Yes.
said, I'm very specific in my language. To
Okay.
warriors who have left a piece of themselves on the battlefield and those who brought a piece of the battlefield back home with them.
Yes, sir.
Because I deal
Uh,
not only with the physical scars, but the emotional scars too in this book.
yeah, and that's something I was curious about. Is in in coming up with a way to express that in a visual medium. Um, what did you now? You yourself haven't seen combat.
Well, yeah,
I
I've never seen combat. The
right.
closest thing to a firefight I got into was a friendly fire situation on a temporary duty mission and with my unit, and
Okay.
it was nothing.
Have you so I not now without like spoiling anything in the book per se, but have you had to do any research? Have you talked to any other disabled
Well,
veterans about how?
I'm friends with a
Sure.
lot of majority
Yeah.
of my friends are veterans, combat vets. In fact, Mike Cerny, he's talking about having me on WTF radio
Hmm.
here possibly this week. He's got his story. I did an interview with him on Dangerous Nerds, and he told the story of how he got wounded in combat. I have
Hmm.
so many friends, and in fact, one of the breaches that I do in the book was given to me by a top dog ranger. He's a
Okay.
fucking ranger all the way, special forces. He's now a state trooper out in Virginia, where I'm from, and we were talking because I said, "Look, I've got to do this. I have this. I need him to breach this building, and this is
Hmm.
how I have it planned."
Hmm.
And what are your thoughts? He says, "Well, they would probably expect him to breach like that. These kinds of guys, they'd be looking for him." He says, "No, I would do it in a way they wouldn't expect it." And he told me how he would do it, and I went,
All
"That's
right.
fucking awesome."
Yeah.
And
Well,
so that's what I did. In that's in book 2, not in this book. That's in
okay.
the second book.
Well, what I was curious is like how do you visualize combat trauma? Like when you're thinking about how you're going to to draw and represent visually someone going through that kind of
Well, you've read
psychological.
3 chapters, right? I gave you 3 chapters to read.
You did, yes.
Yeah.
I'm asking as
Well,
avatar
you
for the
know one of
audience
the
what he.
manifestations is he's haunted by a boy,
Right.
and you don't know what that boy's story is. Why is he haunted by this ghost of a child?
Mhm.
And why is this kid like, he even says when he says, "Well, you know, I'm not really a ghost, I'm your subconscious," and he goes, "Great, my Jiminy Cricket is a fucking Afghani kid,
Mhm.
you know, an Afghani 9-year-old."
Right.
And I created that because I wanted to show one of the forms of PTSD that he suffers from is guilt.
Mhm.
He suffers from severe guilt for something that happened in the past. He also suffers from guilt now because after he had his leg blown off in that ambush, he, learns that his last message to his wife was received by her while she was driving, and she
Mm.
had an accident and was killed
Mm.
while pregnant.
Oh, jeez.
So he harbors guilt over that.
Sure.
He's like, "I killed my wife," is how he sees that. Uh, oh, wait, somebody said something? Never been in a firefight, only been in like 30, 40 yards from a mortar strike. I only knew it happened because it woke me up. Yeah, artillery too, in particular. I've been around artillery, and, the ground slaps your feet,
Mhm.
and it's something I don't it's like, it really hurts. I don't like being around artillery. I don't.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the point of artillery is to make things hurt.
Yeah, well, it's like, I'm not even feeling the explosion, I'm just feeling the blast,
Yeah.
and it causes the earth to smack the bottom of your foot. It's like jumping down and landing on your feet. It's just really, oh.
Mm.
But anyway,
Um, yeah. Something I wanted to ask also is the setting, because usually, like when I think of obviously like The Punisher or something, I'm thinking Chicago, New York, or something. Seattle's kind of an interesting setting for it, and
I
I
was
was curious as to.
after I got out of the army,
Yeah.
I got out of the army in Seattle,
Okay.
and I, served with the King County Ambulance Service. I was a paramedic
Hmm.
up there,
Okay.
and, I love Seattle. I really did,
Mhm.
and this doesn't take place in today's Seattle. It takes place in around 2013, 2014,
Sure. Okay. So you kept the
and
time period the same as when the story was
I
filmed.
didn't wanna
Okay.
change the time period 'cause
Yeah.
that's 'cause I didn't wanna get involved with politics of what's going on up there, the
Well, not
fucking
only
mess that they
politics, but
created.
whatever technological changes have happened that might muck up the plot line
Well,
with.
yeah, and the armor
Yeah.
he wears is armor from that period.
Okay.
He goes through each book has a new set of armor, uh, and the first set has the MTech, ballistic armor that covers the jaw and nose and
Hmm.
is attached to the rail system of his helmet, and he wears a typical, special forces army, um, looks like a almost like a skater helmet from the
Yeah.
old days. It comes up over the ears, and then there's a rail system that goes up over it, and the jaw attaches to that. And he has a mount for, night vision, but he only uses the night vision if he's going to do something at night.
Hmm.
And, but a lot of times he's not required to have that, but he has the mount on and ready at any time if he needs to put the night vision on. He also has eyes in the sky. That's what Bill does. Bill is based on my grandfather who suffered from severe PTSD.
Hmm.
He shook until the day he died from what happened to him in World War One. He was involved in from day one to the last day of World War One. He
Oh,
was there for
geez.
all that combat,
Yeah.
and, um, he was there for Belleau Wood. He was rear echelon for the Marines. Marines were up front, but when the Marines had to pull back for R&R, his team was sent forward to hold the ground where they're at
Hmm.
until the Marines came back, and then he would go back, and he I remember him telling me when he was a kid, he says, "Those Marines were crazy sons of bitches." He says, "They came walking back coated in mud and obviously mustard gas. They had their masks on, and they had poked the lenses out of the masks so they could
Oh,
see to
geez.
aim,
I don't know.
making the masks useless."
Right.
And so, um, yeah, his descriptions of war were, I remember when he died, I remember his funeral. I was 4. I remember so much of my grandfather. I have memories all the way back to, like I said, between 2 and 3, very vivid memories. And I remember my grandfather and, so much about him, just a big man, muscular, and, he was thin, but he was muscular, and he would pick
Mhm.
us all up, all us my siblings on one arm and just lift us, having us straddle his arm. He was amazing, and when he was dying, I remember visiting him in the hospital. He was in an oxygen tent, and, they had to plan. He knew he was dying, and
Yeah.
they had to plan for the funeral, and he said, "I don't want any goddamn guns over my head.
Mm.
Don't you bring anybody firing guns over me. I've had enough of that."
Mm.
And Aunt Betty ignored him, so when he died, she immediately got the color guard from the VFW to come and
Sure.
do a 21 gun salute, and, of course, my dad always laughed, because I remember when it happened, not one shot went off,
Mm.
not one. It was cold morning, it was freezing when he was buried, and, the cold impacted the blanks, and they wouldn't fire.
Oh. He got
Not
his
one
wish.
fired.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
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 got his
he made
wish,
sure.
exactly.
He made sure, yeah.
But
Um,
Bill is based on my grandfather, he shakes
okay.
all the time, and like my grandfather, he was a leather cutter for Buster Brown shoes,
Mm.
and, his hands would shake until he got a knife in his hand and he was doing something with it, and then it would just stop, and he'd be
Mm.
so focused, and he would cut leather, he could whittle, he would do this thing, he would, take the skin off an apple in a perfect one piece,
Mhm.
take that skin off, he was incredible with a knife. And then he'd move his hands and he'd start shaking again. He'd smoke. It was something else, and
Mm.
so I made Bill have all of those quirks that he had, and he depends on alcohol
Yeah.
to relax his nerves just like my grandfather, but John helps him through his PTSD by getting him to do things,
Mhm.
and he says, "I don't know how I'm getting" because he asked John at one point, and you'll like this line. He says, he's like Bill asked him, he says, "How do you do it?" "How do I do what?" John said. He says, "How do you keep the bad shit away with the PTSD, man? How do you do that?" He says, "I'm a fucking wreck." He says, "Oh, it's easy. I just keep making all new bad, memories every day."
Well, yeah, I was another thing I wanted to find out is
Every
this
veteran, by the way, that read it loved that.
well, yeah, that was gonna ask is this, uh are you meaning for this not only for yourself, but for others to be therapy after a fashion,
Other
catharsis?
than yeah, to see somebody like them,
Yeah.
it's not so much like, I'm not out to overly represent, because how I feel about that shit, you
Yeah,
know?
no, yeah,
But
we're not trying to
what
do
I
some
am
kind of like
doing
yeah.
is I wanna show because my problem is you don't see this side of soldiers, and
Mhm,
Hollywood always gets it wrong, and so I wanted to show it done right. I wanted to
mhm,
show them what PTSD is. It doesn't have to be destructive. You can I've turned mine into a positive thing, and
mhm,
many of my veteran buddies have. Um, so many Navy SEALs that have been in combat. Because if I tell you, like, John is a tier 1 operator, he's with the 75th Rangers, and he is always tier 1 operators are always at war, always.
mhm,
While they're in service and doing what they're doing, they are always at war, and so it's different for tier 1 operators than some of the others, like tier 2 and tier 3. It's not that they don't see combat, but they're not at war all the time, and we have operations going on all the time people don't know about. The Philippines in particular is something I learned while I was in the military, that we have operations going on with special forces in the Philippines constantly because we're
mhm,
dealing with, the Moro, Muslims there that are constantly getting violent, and attacking people. And so our teams are having to go in there and quell situations constantly, take out targets. And that's what they do. And I wanted to show this guy, and basically, John also kind of came about from a conversation I had with, and his name is John Russell, by the way, the main character. He's
Mhm.
named after
Yes.
one of my dearest, oldest friends, John Russell, who I grew up with. He's like a big brother to me. When my dad took me to Virginia, I didn't have my siblings anymore. And Jim Woodward, Mike Beatty, and John Russell were these guys, and Vic Armstrong became my brothers. And they were my siblings, and they were who I was closest to. And John
Mhm.
Russell was like this older kid that always just sort of looked out for me, always kind of protected me. And so I named him John Russell after him, and also after the character that Paul Newman played in Ombre,
Okay.
because that's his name. You find out at the very end. Nobody knew his name, and he just gave his life for everyone, sacrificed his life to save everyone.
Mhm.
And said, I didn't even know his name. His name was John Russell. And I love that. And it's my dad's favorite Western. And so I named him John Russell for those two reasons. And I just wanted to write this character who was going to represent two things. He's going to represent two soldiers I was close to. He's kind of a combination of two guys I knew,
Mhm.
and he's got my personality. So when you
Okay.
hear him say things, that stuff, and that's what caused an argument between a writer friend of mine. He says, "Nobody would do that. Nobody would say that." And I went, "Fuck you, I did."
Right.
And it was sort of reminiscent of that moment when what's his name from Seinfeld was complaining about uh, Costanza.
Costanza, yeah.
Nobody would say that. Nobody would do that. And Larry David said, I did say that, and I did that."
Right.
And it shut him down. And I shut this guy down. I said, "This is why you'll never write him, because you have to understand my psyche before you can write this character. I'm the
Mhm.
only one that understands my psyche. I'm weird. I'm different. I don't
Yeah.
think like other people. And I say things that people only wish they would say." And I've said it. Chuck Dixon, you know who he is.
Yes.
He admitted to stealing something I said to somebody. I told you I write quotes that I've said to people, and it'll
Mhm.
say, things Gerry has said, number 216. And, and he saw that and he laughed. He says, "I'm going to put that in my book." I said, "You're going to give me credit for it?" And he goes, "No."
Yeah.
And he
No, Chuck
admitted to it
Dixon.
on my show that he did. He said, "Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
steal that from you."
Just
I s
uh
and
just just an aside. So first time I ever had any interaction with Chuck Dixon was on your show where you had him on as a guest, and
Yeah.
I sent a super chat thanking him for
Oh, I
Punisher number
remember that.
yeah, Punisher number 45, the best Punisher issue ever made. And he told me something I had no idea, but it was like, yeah, that was my first job ever writing the Punisher. And I like that guy hit it out of the park. Like that is
Him
and
and
I'm
Mike
like
Baron, man.
just nerd out for a second, man. But anybody in the chat who's a fan of the Punisher, as you will probably be a fan of Vindicated Incorporated, the best issue ever written, encapsulates the Punisher and his world and everything necessary to understand the character. If you ever need to introduce somebody to the Punisher, find a copy somewhere, electronically or otherwise. A Punisher number 45, written by Chuck Dixon. Greatest Punisher entry ever. Why, if I had the power to make a Punisher film, I would just use that comic and not stray from it at all. It is a one comic total solution for the Punisher. But anyway, my nerdery aside.
Well, I
Um,
need to point out that I'll tell you the quote that he took from me.
sure.
Um, a guy turned and he wanted to fight me in the army. And I turned and I looked at him and I chuckled. And I said, and says, "Come on, motherfucker." And I went, I can kill you more ways than you know how to die, right?" And it
That's
kind
great.
of stopped him dead in his tracks. I said, "I will fuck you up in ways you didn't know you could be fucked up.
That's
Do
great.
you really want to do this?" He goes, "We're cool." I went,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
that's
we're
fine.
cool." I
All right.
walked away. And I'm like, and Chuck was like, "I am going to use that in one of my books." And he did.
That's
And
cool.
he gave me no credit for it. But he did admit to it on our show that he stole that from me. But that's what happens when you're good friends with Chuck. And he likes some of the shit that I say. And he and Mike Barron both have quotes on my book.
Yep,
And
I
Mike
saw
Barron
that.
is writing the introduction for the book when it's done.
Yeah,
And
those.
both of them just said, just like, "This is my Chuck, this is my kinda comic. I love this." And Mike Barron said, "This is gritty and a comic that you've never seen done this way before. This is
Mhm.
nothing like any other comic I've ever seen
Well, yeah,
because it's realistic."
I always one of the reasons that I always sort of found a resonance with characters like the Punisher and the people that wrote him is because I have several military veterans in my family. My grandfather's my father, and I even today, even though I realize it's much different than it was back in my father's day after Vietnam and everything,
Right.
sometimes it still doesn't feel like veterans get the due that they're deserved.
They
Um,
don't. They should be
yeah,
considered celebrities, you
yeah.
know? They should be treated like celebrities, and they're not.
One of the things I keep encountering in some of the material that I cover are these, not to diverge too much real quick, but just because it's on my mind recently. Um, a lot of companies that do these employee resource groups where they're splitting all their employees up into different categories and things. Invariably they'll do all these different groups based on race or gender or something, and then at the very end, as though it were an afterthought, they'll say, "Oh, and also a veterans ERG." And I'm like, out of everything you could say, the one element that you bring up that is actually reflective of someone's merit and service is the last one, and that always ticks me off. But that's just an aside. Um,
Not everybody's
jump-
gonna be like, those of us that think that way. I
Mhm,
Even though I am a veteran,
mhm,
I told you I took that oath in '06 that I'm gonna spend the rest of my life,
mhm,
whatever life I've got left in me, focused on veterans and veterans issues. And I went to work for Dale Dye. I have a close relationship with veterans organizations, including used to be close with Wounded Warrior Project,
mhm,
back when Cersei's with him, but Cersei left, and he now runs a ministry down in Florida. Just a lovely human being. I love that guy. And he wrote the afterword for the book.
mm,
I want Mike to write the opening to the book, and I don't even want, I already have the afterword written by Jeff Cersei because I was the first person he was the first person I went to with this
mhm,
book, and he just went, "This is important." And he told me, "This," and it has little to do with me. I'm saying it's important not because it's my creation, it's important because what it says
mhm,
and what it talks about, and he's a hero, and definitely, there is inspiration from Batman and the Punisher in this. In fact, I had this debate with some friends, 2 of my friends,
mhm.
Ultra Rob and Mac. They're 2 of my closest buddies today, and, I'm sitting there talking with them, and I said, "Here's my problem. Both Batman and the Punisher would be caught
Yeah.
because of the way they do things.
Yep.
They create paper trails, and they shouldn't do that." Like, especially like cinematic Batman in Christopher Nolan's movie,
Sure.
the guy would have totally been busted,
Yeah.
because he's using Wayne Enterprises shit. Everything should be off the books. You shouldn't be spending money that's yours. You shouldn't be using anything connected to you.
Yep.
And so John, um, meets an arms dealer and confronts him and says, "From this day forward, you work for me. I am your only client. If I find out you sell weapons or anything to anybody other than me, no matter how I like you or not, I will kill you.
Mm.
You will cease to exist and you will disappear."
Mhm.
And the guy's like, "I don't wanna fucking die."
Yeah. Oh,
So he
sure.
becomes this personal arms dealer, everything underground. All the money he gets is from criminals
Mhm.
that he takes from them after he kills them. He's not interested, he says this in the scene. I'm in the middle of drawing that scene too. I'm drawing 2 scenes right now, going back and forth, and the scene where he meets with a reporter from, a fake newspaper in Washington. And he tells this reporter, he says, "This isn't an interview. I'm here to tell you who I am and what I'm about."
Mhm.
And he doesn't tell him his name or anything, but he's like telling him, "Look, I'm declaring war in this city on organized crime at any level." He says, I don't give 2 shits about Tommy, the local corner weed dealer. I'm
Mhm.
focused on the people funding and, creating this crime." And he goes, "And I will put a stop to them. I'm not a cop. I'm not here to arrest them." He also brings up Sisyphus and um, Bernie Getz, the subway shooter.
Yes. Yeah,
He says,
Subway,
"I'm
yeah.
not like Bernie Getz." He says, "Just randomly waiting for someone to do something." He says, "And I'm not gonna go after these small time guys because that would just be Sisyphus pushing a boulder up a hill." He goes,
Yep.
"No, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find a way into a vein, and I'm gonna work my way to the heart, and I'm gonna cut that heart out. I'm declaring war on these people. This is real war." And he uses
Mhm.
these exact words, "People are going to fucking die." And then he leaves,
Uh,
and
See,
I
this
love that
is
preamble.
I know this is like again going back, like it just makes me more upset what they've done to a certain other vigilante crime
Yeah, I
fighter
know.
favorite of mine. But um, let's see. Well, I want to start winding things down here because of time, and you got you got to rest up for other things. What? So first off, where is the campaign at right now, and what would you recommend to people to do to try to help out?
Spread the word, share, please share it
Hmm.
out. Share it out as often as you can. We're at 73 backers at $4,200 and
The goal is,
$4,202.
and the goal is like
It's 43% to
43%.
goal,
Okay.
and we still have 22 days for this campaign.
Yeah.
But I'm not too worried, because like I said, if, um, if this doesn't pick up, if I don't get any more, contributions coming in, that's it for this thing, because like, people like to talk a good game, they really do. "Oh, I support veterans things."
Mhm.
It's a nice shine on, I appreciate it, I'm not mad about it, but
Mhm.
some people are just full of shit,
Yeah.
and, fund my comics, most of the people seem to be interested in the fantastical and the superhero shit,
Yeah.
and I've never wanted to work on stuff like that, I would rather
Mhm.
draw and write realistic shit.
Mhm.
Even like my book, as realistic it is, one of the things that makes it realistic is the humor in it
Mhm.
because he's got a very sardonic, scathing sense of humor, very dark. I mean, he stabs a guy, throws a knife into a guy, and the guy's laying there and he's like, "Dude, it is not your day." And then he says, "You've got about 6.5 minutes, 7 minutes, because that's in your subclavian artery before you pass out, and you'll be dead within 15. Unless," and then he pulls a knife out, "I do that. Now it'll be in half that time."
Right.
And he does, he pulls the knife out of him, and blood just goes spraying out of him. And,
Well,
he just and then in the end, he makes it sound like, "Look, man, I could help you here, but you gotta help me.
all right.
Where are the kids? Or where's the
Yeah.
kid, the missing kid?" And so the guy tells him, and then the next time you see him, he's getting into the ambulance with Bill, and he says, "You get the information?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "What did you do?" And he goes, "Don't worry about it, it's done." He
Mhm.
doesn't tell him. I don't show it, but he killed him,
Right.
and, I show him kill guys. He just absolutely gives him a coup de grace, walks up to him, just puts a you know, shot to the chest, shot to the head,
Yeah.
center mass, and then to tap, final tap to the head to make sure they're done. And he's going up
Yeah.
against these gangbangers. These guys are biker gang,
Mhm.
that he's going against, a fictional gang, and they're involved with some powerful people, and he discovers in the midst of this first rescuing this girl, finding out about the drugs, but it's because of the girl though, because he thinks it's about the drugs. He finds out because of the girl, he rescues 2 girls. You've seen the scene. You know the scene.
Mhm. Yes.
And, he realizes there's more to this because there are computers in there, and, he downloads part of the hard drive, and he takes it back to Bill to figure out what's in there, and he finds out this is a sex trafficking ring, and that's when his focus goes towards saving these kids and women and kids, and
Well,
he's like,
yeah.
"I'm not gonna let this go on."
As Gary said, you guys listening, you guys are the best algorithm, and really the only way that independent creators get any support is with independent effort on your part to let people know about the projects, to fund the projects if you're able, or if not, like I say, just with like any other donation, spread the word, retweet it out. Facebook, Instagram, LimeWire, Napster, ICQ, AOL, whatever the kids are using these days. Let people know about the project, especially if you have a family member or a friend who's been in the military, is in the military, or fans of gritty comics, like down to
And
earth
there are
comics.
different tiers, and you can actually turn those into a gift for somebody. You
Exactly.
know, I
Yeah. If you
tell
take a
people,
look
you
at
don't have to
the
buy it for yourself, do it for somebody else that likes this stuff.
take a look
Uh,
at the campaign. There's a whole bunch of options there.
there's 2 chapters available. I'm letting people read 2 chapters for free.
Yep.
Go for it.
Yep. Take a look
And,
if you like it.
it's a very serious, and as Mike Barron said, this is gritty realism.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to make a superhero comic. I'm not interested in that fantastical stuff, with unicorn sparkles coming out of somebody's ass. I don't give
Mhm.
2 shits about that stuff. I'm interested in what goes on in the real world, and I wanna talk about things that really, have an impact on people. I just care. I care,
Yeah.
and I've always cared about veterans' needs.
And I appreciate that very much. Also, guys, so as I said, everything as far as the campaign's concerned is in the description below, as well as links to Gary's Twitter account, Instagram, Facebook, also for Pop Culture Minefield, which is his other project on the air YouTube channel with regular streams covering different things about pop culture, movies,
Keith
books.
Moncrief,
Mhm.
John, Martine, myself. Anima Confusa
Yes.
does 2 shows a week with me.
Yep, I was on there just this past weekend talking about the Dune miniseries from 2000, geeking out about that for a while. So if you're interested in anything geek-wise on that kind of level with people who
That's
are
my
true.
proactive approach. I don't wanna just
Mhm.
bitch about things.
Right.
So I do Military Monday, I talk about
Mhm.
military films or shows, and, every week, and then
Mhm.
every Saturday, I do Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon matinee, and twice a month, Tom from Midnight's Edge and I do a show together called Tom and Gerry,
Mhm.
for Saturday, and then the other 2 weekends, it's the same thing, we still do movies, and we talk about movies we love.
Mhm.
Talk about stuff that's good. I get so
Yes.
tired of talking about all the negative shit. I wanna talk about good stuff.
Yeah, there's a place for, criticizing what's going on and this, that, and that's terrible, but I like talking about things that I'm passionate about, and obviously Gary's very passionate about this project and the subject matter. So again,
That's why you
everybody,
and I became friends.
uh, I suppose maybe,
It's the love
or
of,
just
like, film and stories and stuff. I guarantee you.
well, yeah,
It's how
no,
Script Doctor and I did.
yeah, there's a like I've bonded with people who are nerds about things I have absolutely no interest in, simply because of the fact that they're passionate about it. Even if I can't get into it, the fact that they care enough is an attractive element to me. And so, yeah, that's how I've,
I
and
kinda do that too.
sometimes they convince me to become a
Little.
nerd about their stuff too, occasionally. But everyone, I'm gonna. Oh, and Anima wants us to know that we're doing a special show to celebrate Michael Kaine's birthday. I can't even do
Yep.
that right.
It
At
got bumped
5
2
p.m. Central.
weeks because his birthday was 2 weeks back Thursday,
Yeah.
and, so we're doing it tonight finally because 'cause I've just been too busy.
All right. Well, link to Pop Culture Minefields in the description, guys. So again, at top of the chat box, please take a look at the link for the disabled American veterans there. If you can donate, please do so. If you can't, please share that on social media. Similarly, the campaign for Vindicated Incorporated, a gritty, down to earth disabled veteran taking on organized crime in
Well, we've
Seattle.
gotten traction. I'm already paid for
Okay.
doing my work. I'm paid, I'm funded. What's not
Hmm.
funded is Richard Bonk needs to do his chapter. If I don't get the funding for it, then I gotta draw his chapter. I was
Mm,
hoping to have him because he and I are good friends. He's an
yeah.
amazing comic artist, DC and Marvel both. He's worked for both. He's worked for almost all the major ones, Boom Studios, everybody.
All right. Well, everybody, take a look at the campaign in the description, and also check out Pop Culture Minefield tonight for a Michael Caine birthday celebration. And anything else you want to plug or shout outs before we wrap up, Gerry?
Saturday we are doing I forgot what we're doing this Saturday. It's Tom and Gary, I think, this weekend. And let me go look real quick. God damn, I should have
Sure.
thought about that.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. Let me hurry. Live this weekend. Tom and Gary, what are we doing? What are we doing? Is this that's April.
Is it Beverly Hills Cop 3 by any chance?
No.
Or sorry, Beverly Hills Cop. No, that's way in the future. You got things scheduled out so far in advance.
Yeah, it's like March. Secondhand Lions.
Secondhand Lions.
It's Anima and me,
Okay.
and we're going to be talking about Secondhand Lions.
There you
go. Just a Red Shirt will be there, and another one of my military vet buddies is going to join us because he's a big fan of that film.
Cool.
Just a Red Shirt, because I do Toxic Tuesday with Nick Weiser, and
yes.
Red Shirt's like, I saw you're going to do that. Can I join you this weekend? I'm like, fuck yeah, you're welcome anytime.
Yep.
So he'll be doing
Pop Culture Minefield, hanging out with these guys, just like hanging out with my old friends, talking about nerdy stuff we like and being able to just kind of shoot the breeze.
That's what it's all about, just having a good time.
Yeah, having a good time, talking about things you care about. And obviously
me shitting on you. I shit on my friends. If you're a friend of mine, I have shat on you.
Yeah,
I have absolutely mocked you at some point.
I keep extra air fresheners around just for you.
Yep.
And as for myself, everybody, I'm pulling double duty today. Later on tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, is the next installment of TED Excellence, where I'll take a look at another off-brand TED Talk for education and entertainment. So look out for that. Gerry Kissell, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it. Glad to have you as a friend.
Buddy.
Very excited about your project, and I'm looking forward to getting my copy when the time comes. And,
yeah, I'm at 100 pages right now.
I'm practically graphic novel. Underscore the word novel in that one.
155 when done.
All right, and other issues to be released in the future as well. Hopefully,
it'll be a coffee table book. It's so big.
Nice. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for coming out today. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the Disabled American Veterans, thank you so much for your generosity. I'll be making a donation myself here pretty quick as well, and on behalf of the show and Gerry and and everyone. Hope you have a good rest of your Thursday. Good Friday ahead of you. Weekend as well. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. And that's it.